Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. Now, I'm back with an exciting topic that I rarely get to talk about, and that's wrestling. Now, I've seen Seth Rollins on ESPN First Take, and he discussed before, basically saying that before it's all said and done, he will be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Now, I haven't watched wrestling meticulously in probably 15 years or so. But when I used to watch wrestling, I remember what it used to be and how it made me feel. Now I know it's probably even exponentially gained more acclaim now, just because of the online era and social media and things like that. They have tons of fans that come out for WrestleMania, WrestlePalooza, or whatever's coming up. So I can honestly say I never seen him really wrestle. I've seen bits and pieces of wrestling over the last couple of years. I don't know if I'll be able to incorporate it because all the sports that I'll be watching, but nevertheless, it had me thinking about my Rushmore of wrestling. Now, my era was the WCW, WWF era, and mixed in with a little ECW. But thinking about my Mount Rushmore of wrestling, now I do think the golden era is the WCW, WWF period. Now, I am a dinosaur, but nevertheless, I think my Mount Rushmore I had off of impact, influence, and persona. Now, some of these newer wrestlers still are creating their legacies and still, you know, their cement is not dry yet. Now, the wrestlers that I'm talking about still have their cement is dry. They're legends, goats. You can't tell a story of wrestling without these guys. So, as you can probably see from the thumbnail, my first favorite wrestler, or I don't have them in order. It's just a Mount Rushmore, of course, so they are everywhere. But the first person that I'll put on Mount Rushmore is Sting. Now, Sting was a terror for the NWO and for wrestling alike. Now, if you remember about Sting, he had the face paint, he had the leather jacket, he had the black onesie, he had the black boots. He had a crow sometime, I think it was. He was in the Raptors. Anytime a WCW member would be getting jumped by NWO, he would come down on a string with a bat, clear the ring out. One person, he was the first 1v20, 20v1. There wasn't a 20v1 before Sting did it. Sting was the first person. Argue with your mama, as they say. The 20v1, but that was all Sting. He was the first person to do it. He only had one bat, and sometimes he would drop the bat and just start, punching people and clear the ring out. So Sting is legend just for that and alone. But what he did against Hulk Hogan at Starrcade was different. That was a classic moment. I think I cried back when I was 12 or 13 watching that. Um, but he had that quiet persona. He had um, that cat-like ability to sneak up on you. Sometimes he would go through the crowd, and then you'll see him going through the crowd to clear the ring out. But you know, he was the first. Sting was also the first person of anti-bullying, because the NWO would come in and beat the giant up, even though he was 7 foot, spray paint him on the back. Sting would get back and say, "Get off my partner," and he'd clear the ring out. So Sting had a different feel than other wrestlers did. He was the first anti-bullying before school started incorporating it, but I don't think they really enforce it, but they try to. Um, but he was my favorite wrestler just off his mystiqueness and his uniqueness and just his ability his influence was crazy just to clear out 20 people or clear out a whole gang, which NWO was back then. So he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore for that. The next face is The Rock. Now, The Rock just had the charisma, he had the style, he had the grace. The Rock was laying the smack down, he had the terminology, poontang, pie, all of this stuff. My favorite moment of The Rock is when he was wrestling in dress shoes and dress clothes, and he did the people's elbow and slid into the people's elbow. Classic. Now, if you definitely have to see that video, it was classic. It was smooth. I don't know if they planned that, but it was hilarious. But The Rock's always had the funny. He brought the funny to wrestling, and he was definitely a legend in it, with his physique and with his moves and the elbow drop, the quotes, "Do you smell what The Rock's cooking?" He had a whole persona going that they created. But he would go down as top 4 wrestler of all time, and what he's doing for wrestling now, from doing so many things, being an actor and being um, just a workaholic. That's what he do. And you always have to appreciate that for him because he did a lot of work outside of wrestling as well. to make the sport what it is today, bigger than what it is today. So he definitely left wrestling in a bigger spot than what he found it. Especially coming from his father was a wrestler as well. So The Rock is my second. The third face on my Mount Rushmore is The Undertaker. Now, The Undertaker had a mystique similar to the Stings. He didn't talk much. He didn't. Um, he was very, introverted, so to speak. He, just like Kane was, but he had so much influence and power. And then he won what 21 straight WrestleMania victories, which is insane to wrestle that long and to be dominant for that long. That just showed you uh, what the wrestling producers and things thought about him and how great he was. Because who can beat a guy that's 7 foot, tall, long hair, had the eyes of a madman, and he still has that sound that he has, that little gong sound that when you knew that come out, somebody was in trouble. And usually they was in trouble when you heard that music. So made me want to leave the arena one time I heard it. But his longevity as well, he don't get appreciated enough for that. He started in the '80s and then he didn't retire at 2020. So he has like 4 decades of, wrestling, essentially. Um, so you have to give him credit for that. So more than half of his life went to wrestling. The moments of the cage matches, I mean the casket matches, the cage match where he threw Mankind off the cage, insane. I still remember. I think it was Jerry Lawler. I think. No, I forgot his name, but the announcer saying that he was dead. I really thought he was dead. He fell pretty far off that thing, but Mankind was a great as well. Probably be in my top 10 if I had a top 10. I'll probably have to do that one day. But the Undertaker's battle with Kane, or even the Undertaker's battle with the Undertaker when it was the purple Undertaker against the gray one, classic moments that I always remember. But you can't tell a story of wrestling without the Undertaker. So, and lastly, Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the most comedic and influential wrestlers of all time. Just the 316 is still a holiday. If you look at the video when the guy's stunning everybody and you have the announcers in the background, still classic. Stone Cold drinking 2 beers. I can remember that at 10, 11 years old, thinking that was pretty cool. Just watching that stuff. His signature, kick you in the stomach, throw the finger sign and stunner you and then getting out of there. I remember he stunnered the whole McMahon family one time. Classic moments. The classic music with him with the glass shattering. When you hear that music, you know it's some drama coming out. But he was very hilarious and he brought so much style and grace to wrestling. And you definitely can't tell the story of wrestling without Stone Cold Steve Austin. The strut, the attitude, the little shorts with the vest, the boots, uh, the language, the slang, the what, all of that stuff that he used to do. Just he was just a badass, so to speak. But everybody wanted to be Stone Cold. I remember having a Stone Cold T-shirt at one point. But there'll never be another persona like Stone Cold, and he just brought in so much great wrestling and great times. So you definitely have to tell the story. But I think that's a great Mount Rushmore that I have. I mixed in some WCW with some WWF, but for the most part, I think I had WWF in there. But WCW was my favorite wrestling at the time back when I was watching it, just because of the NWO and the the parody that they had in wrestlers. But WWF definitely stood the test of time because they're still around, which is the WWE. But tell me who you think your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers are. And until next time, I'll see you next time.